Hello providers, and welcome to today's workshop. In today's workshop, we are focusing on patient characteristics, specifically using those patient characteristics that we see in our patients to develop better relationships with them. So we know that actively engaged patients have better outcomes than patients who are not. So these patients are asking questions, they're assertive, and they're having open, honest conversation with their providers. So the goal is we want our patients to all be actively engaged patients. And one way we can do that is through patient-centered communication. So patient-centered communication, it's tied to shared decision-making, so making sure that us as providers are not dictating what we are doing with our patients, that there is a balance between our decision-making. It also is tied to relationship building, so it's really important that us as providers are trying hard to build these relationships with our patients. And patient-centered communication, it results in better outcomes, which is what we always want. So there are 3 characteristics to patient-centered communication. The first one is emphasizes disease and the illness experience. So it takes an understanding of how the patient's lived experience is shaped by the illness that they have. The second characteristic ties to an understanding the patient as a whole patient. And the third characteristic is finding common ground. So in today's workshop, our main focus is that third characteristic of finding common ground. We want to be able to find common ground with our patients so that we are better at developing a relationship with them. Developing this relationship will lead to them feeling more comfortable and hopefully being more actively engaged patients. So, in today's workshop, our activity we're doing is a partnered activity. One person is going to be a provider, the other person is going to be the patient. So, the goal of this activity is to have open, honest conversation and to find common ground. So, the provider, your job is to take something from what the patient has said and try and come up with a conversation that you can have with them. Try and think of something that what they're saying relates to you as well, so that you guys can have this open, flowing conversation, hopefully finding some common ground. The patient, your job is to say 3 words. Now, these 3 words are words that obtain to you. They're not 3 words that describe you, so you cannot say things like, I'm funny, I'm smart, and I'm kind. It's not things like that. It's 3 words that you are interested in or things that you do. So, for example, if I was going to participate in this and say I was the patient, I would say 3 words like hockey, food, and Netflix. Now, my provider, their role would be to pick one of those words that most commonly relates to them. So, let's say that the provider picks hockey. Let's say I pick hockey, and what they could say is maybe they've played hockey, so then they could say, oh, you played hockey, I've also played hockey. And then you guys could have a conversation about, me and the provider would have a conversation about hockey. Or maybe they pick Netflix. They could tell me, my favorite show on Netflix is this, what's your favorite show on Netflix? And then we could have conversations about shows on Netflix. The whole point is finding common ground in things that you're interested in. So, this activity is very unique because if you do run into a situation where maybe you don't relate to any of the words they're saying, that's the whole point. It's to challenge you to try and come up with something that you can relate to. So maybe my provider doesn't like hockey, doesn't like Netflix, and eats weird food, doesn't want to talk about food. So the whole point is trying to come up with unique ways to have conversation with your patient and find this ground and just to learn more about them as a patient. That is the whole goal of the activity. So we want to find common ground. This will help us build relationship with them, and building this relationship will improve the patient-centered communication that we're having and hopefully lead to our patients becoming more actively engaged patients. So yeah, let's get at it with this exercise and let's enjoy this workshop.